So, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. It's truly an honor to be here today, welcoming all of you to the AURORA Ambassadors Welcoming Webinar. For those of you who don't really know me, my name is Ana Cristobal, and I'm excited to introduce this initiative, which brings together individuals who are passionate about creating a more sustainable world. I want to start by thanking each and every one of you for being here, okay? Whether you are joining from home, from your workplace, or even from a community event, your presence today demonstrates your commitment to a greener future. And this is something worth celebrating. Well, why are we here? Well, we are here because the world is facing an unprecedented environmental challenge. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It's happening here and now. One of the main contributors to the greenhouse gas emissions is the energy sector, which accounts for nearly 2/3 of total emissions. The European Climate Pact outlines, as seen in the table on the left, what changes need to be made in the energy sector if we want to meet the Pact's goals by 2030. To achieve these goals, there are three main pathways. The first one is implementing cleaner and more efficient technologies. The second one is to develop policies more or less aggressive to reduce emissions and improve energy use. And the third one is influencing, yeah? Okay. And the third one is influencing citizens through increased awareness, which studies show can contribute up to 19% of the European targets. So this is where Aurora comes in. Funded by the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program, Aurora is more than just a project. It's a movement. Our goal is to empower individuals like you to take meaningful action towards a zero-emission future. We believe that the transition to sustainability doesn't rest solely on governments or large corporations. It starts with us, citizens, communities, and local leaders working together. Aurora focus on all activities that can facilitate a cultural shift, promoting actions in which citizens can experience firsthand and actively participate in the change by their own choice. We operate within what Einstein would call the levels of engagement that foster citizen power, leading to motivation, trust, and civic determination, and ultimately enabling the systemic changes needed, as discussed in many forums. So the Aurora approach follows 4 key steps. The first one, mobilize people. Okay. The first step is engaging current local communities or citizen hubs. We need people to come together, share ideas, and recognize that every action, no matter how small, contributes to a larger impact. The second one is to raise awareness. Of course, knowledge is power. By monitoring our own energy consumption and our footprint emissions, we can make informed decisions or adjust our behaviors. This is about understanding the problem before we can solve it, okay? And then promote changes. Awareness alone is not enough. We must take real actions, and Aurora supports practical hands-on solutions such as, well, building different sessions, following up people with some devices, and many different things that we will explain later, okay? At the end, all these initiatives empower individuals to be part of the solution through creativity, innovation, and local collaboration. And finally, spread is the last part of the Aurora, the rational. Successful actions need to expand beyond individual efforts. This is why Aurora is building a network of citizens and ambassadors who will lead the way in spreading this solution to a wider audience. This is your role, the role of Aurora Ambassadors. Okay. What does it mean to be an Aurora Ambassador? Simply put, you are the heart of this movement. As an Aurora Ambassador, you are not just a participant. You are a leader. You are a change maker and an advocate for sustainability. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it begins with informed, motivated individuals who take actions. And this is exactly what each of you represents. And you are not alone. Currently, we are more or less 550 key people that have joined as ambassadors around Aurora from many different countries and many different ideas on how to work all together with citizens in a significant way. You can collaborate with Aurora by educating your community about the importance of reducing carbon emissions, inspiring others to adopt sustainable habits, engaging with local initiatives, helping us to identify different forums with policymakers in order to make them aware of the importance of and the role of citizen science in the climate actions. Every idea, every action counts. When people come together, those small actions turn into a collective force that can influence policies, industries, and the entire system. You can see all the ambassadors now in our website, as is writing here. And what to expect today, okay? What we'll be doing in this webinar? Over the next hour, more or less, we will first learn more about Aurora. In 20 minutes, we will explain to you all what we have done in 4 years, okay? Our mission, our goals, the key initiatives we are working on. You will hear from experts who will share insights on how we can drive real change in our communities. And the third and the more important, connect with other ambassadors, exchange ideas, discuss challenges, and start to work all together to create impactful actions that allow us to go from local to global. Okay, this is not just an informative session. Okay, it's the beginning of a journey where, again, and let me repeat it, we will work together, support one another, and take concrete steps toward a sustainable future. Okay, so let's start it. Welcome to the Aurora Ambassadors community.
Okay, so Anna, if you'd like to introduce the management team.
Yeah, for sure. The first one, well, I prefer to introduce each other just as the presentation are coming on. The first thing we have is the Aarhus University. They are represented by 2 people, Marta Victoria and also Se. I think that Marta is not with us today, but Se is going to introduce the first work package and the first results we have in it. Se, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Okay. Thanks, Anna. Yeah, my name is Jo. I'm from Aarhus University. I work with Marta, who unfortunately cannot join us today. So I'll just go through quickly what our role is in this project. So just a very quick introduction of our team. So we are the Fluids and Energy section at the Department of Mechanical and Production Engineering at Aarhus University. The research we do at our group is mostly new concept solar PV systems. For example, solar PV with agriculture, the combination of it. And then another part of our research is the modeling, computational modeling of large-scale energy systems. So we are trying to answer questions like how the European green transition should look like, where should we install what? Should we expand the grid, or should we do different things? So by doing this, we're trying to provide knowledge to understand and support the energy transition. And in Aurora project specifically, there are 4 people, Marta, Gom, who are leading the project. And then there's me and Parisa. Parisa is our PhD student doing mostly the research part, and I'm the project coordinator in Aarhus, trying to make things happen. Yeah. So of course we are the same as other project partners building energy communities in here, but we also have a role leading work package 1, which is the package where we develop the energy labeling systems, which is the backbone for the Aurora Energy Tracker app, and also coordinating some citizen researcher meetings among partners. So one of the main tasks, as I mentioned, is to, if we can move to the next page, Joanna, thank you, to develop this near zero emission citizens in energy labeling system, where we did a lot of research and trying to find a database where we can take the compatible emission factors to develop this system. So you can imagine this somewhat like the energy labels we have for some appliance, but now we use it towards our heating or towards our energy consumptions in terms of electricity, heating, and transport. And then we used a 2015 number as a baseline and developed different levels based on the climate pact ambitions. So this is already done. This is done at the very start of the project, and this system then later gets adopted into the app as the backbone of the calculation. So now people or users can actually use the app to kind of put in their consumption numbers and get a feedback of how much emissions they are having from home electricity, heating, and their normal like everyday commute. And that compares them to a baseline that was based on 2015 level. And of course, our team also collects the data from all the user inputs and does some analysis. So the next page isn't just I'm not gonna go through all the analysis we have done, but the next page, Joanna, if you can move to the next slide, is actually an example of what we did. Like we tried to analyze for each category for the different countries involved in the project. We have other analysis in this, but today we're not going into this details. And another task under work package 1 for what we are leading is to coordinate the different citizen researcher meetings. So each demonstrator holds their own citizen researcher meetings where citizen scientists or like people like us come together to discuss relevant topics. It could be about energy community models. It could be behavior change suggestions. So the demonstrator leads this researcher meetings, but we kind of we collect all this meetings and the outcome from the meetings and try to compile them into a document to summarize our learnings from all those meetings. So I think in each demonstrator site we had multiple meetings. In some demonstrator sites there had been more than 10. In some demonstrator sites there have been maybe around 5, 6. So we try to collate all those learnings from those meetings. The general learnings we have, if we can move on to the next page, is that there is generally high willingness among people to participate in actions that support the climate pact, but we realize the activities need to be they need to stay rooted in the local community and stay very relevant to the local community. And these meetings can be held in various formats. It could be online, offline. It could be some kind of hands-on workshops. It's not necessarily just one person giving presentations. What we found out is actually discussions and debates work very well. And we also, at least in Aarhus, we collaborate with other organizations and existing activities. And we also find out that to get more people, and we also find out like the people coming to this citizen research meetings could be just the similar group of people who are really motivated to do something. So another strategy to attract and engage people outside the EUROS aspects would be to incentivize, use different kinds of incentives and rewards to attract some of the people that we probably don't really reach to. Yeah, so that's basically what work package 1 is about in a very, very short introduction. And thank you.
Okay, Alex. Let me just introduce you briefly. Alexander and Lars and Daniela also represent the research institute Instico from Germany, who are in charge of the work package 2. Okay, and Alexander is going to introduce the main developments of this work package. Please, Alex.
Thank you. Yeah. And Joanna, I think you're sharing. Is it okay with you?
Yeah. Do you want me to share?
As you want. I think we're already seeing it, so I think it makes things easier. That's okay with everyone else. Yeah, there's a whole team here, of course. I'm just a figurehead. I'm just the one presenting today. So there's also other colleagues who can't be here today, but it's a great pleasure to share what we have done with the Aurora Energy Tracker mobile application. And it's even not just a mobile application, but also a web application, as you'll see in a minute. I think I've got 5 minutes, so I better hurry up. The app has already been fully operational now for way more than a year. It's been available for download since autumn 23. We have additionally developed what you can see here on the left-hand side as screenshots, an interactive dashboard. Sounds fancy and actually is quite interesting. That is the tool that allows both, first of all, our us as a project, if you want, but in the meantime, also the citizen scientists, to live the project as citizen science, so that people can actually see their data, that they can get visualizations and comparisons as to their data. What does that mean? How does that translate into my carbon footprint? So that's the engagement of the users with the data. I think if you could go one slide back, I think I wasn't entirely finished, but I can see I'm requested to hurry up. We have additionally a monitoring of the photovoltaic installations that is already operational for the city of Aarhus, of the demo site in Denmark. The others, basically, we're waiting for that to happen while we speak, so that you can see not just is the sun shining today, but how much electricity has been generated by the installation that I, as a citizen, have potentially helped to co-fund. There are a couple of major updates. This is more the technicalities, and the last point is important. We have promised as a project and are implementing as we speak what we call a rule-based recommendation system, so that depending on what the energy behaviors individually are, that the system makes suggestions of how to make your energy behavior even more sustainable, how to improve it even further. Those rule-based recommendations are actually much more tricky than you might think. Technically, there's, if you want, some artificial intelligence involved. So we're working on it as we speak, but definitely going to also include it in the next update. Now, Joanna, thank you very much for clicking. I think that would be everything for this slide. This is who actually uses it. We had more than 2 downloads, of whom 1,800 user accounts have been created, of which 1,400 have at least entered one consumption. That we take that as an indicator, as the other 400 probably never really bothered using it. They just downloaded it. but it's almost 1,500 people in the meantime who regularly actually input data, which does take some time. This adds up to more than 115,000 consumptions as of today. A consumption is basically if you drive from A to B, if you put in your heating bill, if things like that. We have users obviously from the demonstration sites that are represented in this project, which I think are 5 if I haven't calculated wrongly, but additionally also a dozen other countries. And that includes in the meantime almost like every second country in Europe. If you could click, Joanna, that would be lovely. Thank you very much. The PV installations, major part of the project that we have installed on the rooftops, as you have already heard, and as you will hear further, PV installations into which the citizens are invited to invest. So they become a part and parcel of the local energy transition, if you want. Based on that, the installations on the roofs basically generate data, and that is solar radiation, I think even wind, velocity of the wind, and but obviously also how much energy has been generated, and that can then be calculated as to how much basically how much electricity could be produced with the share that I have invested in for the installation on the roof of the university around the corner. So that makes energy transition also very tangible, very people actually feel connected to it. You can see here, fourth bullet points. What's available in the app will be, like you can see the total, the monthly, daily projection. There's so-called metadata about the installation with the instructions, so you can see which type of solar cell it is, and the angle of the cell. I think it's all like technicalities for whoever is interested to dive as deeply into that. Then again, there's also a science education element in this, I suppose, to convey this is a complex topic, and of course we also want to take everyone on board and be fully transparent as to the technologies being implemented. There's direct data export if you want to share the results of your local energy production site, and more installations will be to become online as we speak. Thank you very much. So that's just a screenshot of the monitoring. I think that's ours again, isn't it? Yes. So that would be because the others are only in test mode. But as you can see, it's basically on a daily basis. You can see when the sun was shining and whatnot. And you can see on the right-hand side also the specifications, but that's probably too much detail for the time being. But as you can see, there's full transparency for every citizen to know exactly what's going on and what's happening to the investment that they've made. Joanna? Thank you. The investments then translate into a carbon offset, second bullet point here. So the you can see how that translates into the carbon footprint of yourself, and that, as you may be aware, the AURORA project is applying a so-called labeling system, where depending on how good your carbon footprint is, you end up in a different label, and then you can see how the carbon offset actually improves or doesn't your energy label. The offsets are automatically calculated, so nobody has to do that manually. For data management purposes, this happens once a week, and the investments then can be edited, they can be deleted, and then they automatically basically adjust corresponding offset to the next refreshing cycle of the application. So people don't have to worry about calculating their footprint, but all they need to do is make sure that the investment is up to date, and the rest is entirely done by the system. It's fully implemented in what we call the web app. That's basically a browser page. If you open your web browser, then you don't even need a smartphone, which apparently is an issue for elderly users or for users who have maybe limited resources, that they actually don't tend to use smartphones, but they prefer to use browsers. Yeah, next slide, please. Again, the investments, here you have also the investment function in the app, where you can enter your shares and the investment date that basically, of course, also calculates back how long has that been, just for a week or for a month or for a year. Next slide, please. I think we're almost done. I mean, I have a couple of backup, but I guess we don't do anyone a favor if I go over time. The investment feature is being released as we speak. We have both the Mac, the iOS operating system, and the Android operating system, basically for Google phones and so on. For both, that's happening as we speak. It's already available in this browser-based web app, which we kind of also use as a test bed. We weren't required to develop it, I think, but I think it has proven to be a very good decision to do that, to offer that as an additional entry point. And for us, it gives us the opportunity to basically have a local test bed before we roll it out over the app stores, as they're called, where there are tons of regulations and requirements as to what you have to fulfill before you can update anything. You have to go through internal screening and compliance processes and so on. The person's recommendations are coming. That's part and parcel of the roadmap. That's going to be probably the most exciting final step in developing this app, that you get personalized recommendations as to how, based on your personal energy behavior, you can change it, whether you're encouraged to maybe change an energy provider or to change means of transport, or that the system actually tells you how the data you've entered actually processes it and so on. How it compares also to people maybe in the same region or in other regions. And users will receive personalized notifications on how to improve the energy behavior. I suppose by the middle of this summer would be my estimate, like hopefully June would be an ambitious estimate. This is a sneak peek, as they call it, I think, in the cinema for the recommendations. This is, I think it's Danish. I'm not entirely sure, but I guess it is. They would know. Yeah, so basically, but it would take now quite a long time to explain how the system works, and that is basically, but yeah, I'm just shaking your head, so probably not now. Next slide, please. I think that was even it. Yeah, and please don't hesitate if you haven't already downloaded the app. Then you have the choice between the Android or the iOS version, or just use what we call the dashboard, the web application for which you don't even need a phone, if that is a thing. And yeah, thank you very much so far. I'm here, looking very much forward to our discussion later about the project and about the app.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Okay, we have seen that we developed a label scheme just for inform citizens, not only in their own carbon footprint, but also about their energy behavior related to the energy efficiency. Okay, our labels are measuring both energy efficiency and carbon footprint. That at the end of the day is what the European Commission is looking for. Okay, and then Alex has shown how this has been implemented in the AURORA Energy Tracker app that are using over 1,500 people around Europe from 19 countries. Okay, so now we are going to go into the work package 3. Mathieu from Ljubljana is going to explain to us, let's say, the second main tool that we have to engage people in hands-on activities, that are the local energy communities. Let's encourage people to finance local facilities, and well, we are going to show you how we have done it. Okay, Mathieu, are you here?
Yes, Anna, thank you very much for a very nice introduction. So I will try to very briefly present what we have done in Work Package 3 on behalf of the whole Work Package 3 team, who worked really hard during the last 3 years, 3.5. So what is Work Package 3? Work Package 3 is trying to upgrade existing social communities to local energy communities. There are actually two main tasks that we have to do, or we had to do. The first one was to transform existing communities using the tools from all the other work packages, the carbon calculator, the app, and then also workshops and the communication tools, let's say, include the individuals from the social communities within the citizen science to form local energy communities, and by doing so, and becoming also near zero emission citizens. There were a lot of societal challenges on how to invite people, how to invite them to join us. And then the other task was to actually build the 5 demonstrator photovoltaic facilities that would be crowdfunded by the participants of the communities. In this part, there were many legal challenges that we came across, and now I would like to present you on the next slide. The 5 demonstrators. They were actually built around Europe, at Aarhus University in Denmark, at Forest of Dean District Council in United Kingdom, at Polytechnical University of Madrid in Spain, University of AURORA in Portugal, and University of Ljubljana in Slovenia. Within these 5 demo sites in different countries, we came across different legal barriers, obstacles, also culturally conditions that led to 3 different approaches, which are displayed on the next slide. So the first approach is actually independent cooperative. Can you please click the next slide? And this independent cooperative approach is actually what was envisioned by the European Commission under the term renewable energy community. At Aarhus University, they were actually able to follow this approach, and they actually established a new legal entity, which was an independent cooperative. It was registered last year. They also succeeded in the crowdfunding process. They collected more than 100,000 euros, with which they then financed the almost 100 kilowatt installation that is now in operation at their facilities. The next approach is to set up the energy community within the existing cooperative. This approach was adopted in Madrid and at Forest of Dean. At least in Madrid, after several other approaches that didn't actually, they were not able to follow them because of different reasons. So in Madrid, they are having their energy community within the existing cooperative of the local school called Centro Cultural Palomeras, and the energy advisor ECO is helping them with that. They are currently running the crowdfunding campaign, and they have already gathered about 81% of the shares that they want to achieve. With that, they will finance a 42 kilowatt power plant and 2 additional heat pumps, with which the school will then heat up during the winter. In Forest of Dean, they are building their energy community within the existing national cooperative under the name Big Solar Co-op. And their local share offer is planned to start anytime now, as soon as they solve some legal documents that still need to be signed. They're actually planning two different installations. One is on the leisure center, about 62 kilowatts. That's planned for April. And then on the Dean Academy, which is also a school with more roofs available, and that is planned for July. And then the final approach is a virtual approach. And we actually adopted that approach at University of Ljubljana and at University of AURORA. First, we try to somehow include the universities in the energy communities, as did the UPM. But during the process, we found out that is unfortunately legally not possible, because the universities are still as public bodies, and the Renewable Energy Directive does not foresee public bodies to participate in these cooperatives. So after several different approaches that we tried to come up, we finally came up with a virtual approach, which unfortunately does not enable the participants of the communities to crowdfund the power plants. However, we will still be building the power plants and include them in the app, and also all the other activities, so that we can still provide the, let's say, first-hand experience of photovoltaics to the members of the communities. At University of Ljubljana, we established a student energy club, which takes care of different activities. And then we also built up a power plant. It was actually grid connected just last month. It has a power of 2,206 kilowatts. At University of AURORA, they will also have now virtual approach. under the name of UE sharing, and there the registration is in progress. They will initially include the existing installation, but they have also applied for additional funding for another 750 kilowatts. What is advantageous at their approach is that they will actually try to have a collective self-consumption, meaning that they will use the buildings at different locations where they will produce the electricity, and then use the grid to transfer this electricity to the buildings where they can unfortunately not build the photovoltaic facilities on the roof due to the ever being the UNESCO heritage site, and that's protected area. So I hope I kind of rounded up what we managed to do in these last 3 years and a half. It was very intense, and we are very much willing to share our experience to everybody else that's willing to replicate the approach that we have developed. Thank you.
So now it's my turn again, but okay, let me continue a little bit with the talk of Mathieu. Just for those of you interested in the topic of energy communities, we experienced a very hard journey with the universities, trying to set up the energy communities within universities. We believed that energy communities were and are a powerful education tool beyond other advantages that the energy communities have from the European Communion, from the European Union directive, okay? But universities, public universities and totally public schools have shown many different reticences to install and be part of the energy communities. Just to show European universities, this is not more than a threat to the social innovation to make things different. The online workshop supported by DG Energy, DG Education, the European Universities Alliance for Sustainability, and I think that now DG Clima is also on board supporting this seminar, will take place on Wednesday, 30th of April, also online. We will send you all the information, okay, about this workshop. But just if you want to book on your diary the slot, just in case you are interested in knowing more about this, and coming not only from Aurora members, but also by policy officers and different people from the European Commission and DG Energy, okay, and general directions. Okay, so that's all. Now let me move on to the work package 4. Okay, the work package 4 is changing energy behavior through experimental learning. Okay, during the next few minutes I will send you to the citizens laboratories of Aurora. These laboratories have been designed to meet the needs of our target audiences, but in a way that allows participants to become more aware of their own energy habits through lived experiences. Thus, it is clear that the citizens laboratories conducted within universities don't cover the same activities that as those carried out in the Forest of Dean, that is a rural area in England, it's obvious. In any case, once we define our objective and our target audience, we design a wide range of actions which are categorized into 4 groups. Okay, firstly, we have competitions where participants compete to demonstrate a better understanding of their environment, or contribute a relevant idea that they have designed or created themselves. We also have workshops that we develop in open spaces where we create objects or sensors that participants can take home. If these are technological sensors, as in the case of the universities, they involve in a second phase in which participants return with their observations for a discussion session where they share their reflections on their experiences. We have also co-creation sessions where instead of just co-creating sensors, of course, we collectively develop solutions for our environment. And finally, we have a format that may seem less active, but the way Aurora conducts this yields great results, allowing us to engage in conversations with small groups of people, okay? These kind of debates or dialogues one-to-one, and they are very, very useful. So some examples of workshops we have conducted include, for instance, measure your energy, build an Arduino energy meter, pedal power, build a bike-powered phone charger, diet yourself solar, build your own photovoltaic modules. We have also built solar cells with people. Harness the sun. We have created solar cooking for people. Bike Fish 101, activity mobility repair workshop. Warm and cozy, create your own insulating snake. These workshops are devoted for seniors. Solar crickets, fun solar power bags, or the solar spring, build and raise solar power cars for kids. All these activities allow us to engage in an awareness, and also for those that are not for seniors, also people are monitoring and being more active relating their own environment. Regarding competitions, the most engaging one for our audience has been the use of thermal cameras for mobile phones. We lend participants these cameras, so these are the cameras here, so they can their surroundings. Some of their discoveries have been quite revealing. For instance, the well-known red standby light on electronic devices, which used to indicate energy consumption, is now hidden in many smart devices, such as the smart speakers, okay? These devices remain active 24 hours, 7 days per week, consuming energy, and yet they are only used for 10-15 minutes a day at most, okay? And we have also seen some creative contributions, like one participant who captured a striking thermal image titled "The Lost Footprint of Energy." Well, it's a photo worthy of a climate awareness campaign. Okay, people are very creative and are using the cameras for scanning their surroundings and think outside of the box, and this is very interesting. Beyond of this, we have organized in other competitions, for instance, in the university's annual climate solution challenge. These initiatives encourage students to focus their final degree or master project on developing climate-related solutions, even if they are not belonging to a faculty or a school mainly devoted to climate actions. For instance, the ICT schools, okay? ICT schools, well, in principle, they don't have subjects on environment or climate or this kind of things. We are trying to join efforts in this way. Regarding co-creations, a significant collaborative effort has been made with professors across different disciplines to integrate Aurora's results into educational material for use in their courses. And additionally, one of our key actions has been the development of sustainability civic roadmaps. These are concrete actions planned, designed and identified by the community. You can see here how the community is telling us what we have to change, for instance, beyond other actions, of course. And we have joined everything everything in a roadmap that has been delivered to our executive teams, directly influencing their sustainability strategies. For instance, in my faculty, we have set the plan, and the plan is in progress since September. Okay, and we are doing what all together have created. Okay, we are not waiting that others tell us what we have to do. We are the owners and the users of this campus, of these faculties, and together with our executive team, we are creating the place that we want. Okay, and citizen meetings. Okay, SE has also introduced some citizen meetings, but well, in some way this belongs also to the Citizens Lab. Our dialogues and engagement activities take place through various interactive events such as parties, competitions, and student-led stands set up across faculty buildings. These initiatives are designed and managed by students themselves, making it easier to connect with their peers in a more relatable and effective way. And one of the highlights has been our Formula E driving simulator, which attracts the curiosity of many young people. They approach, try out, and start to ask questions about the electric mobility and learn about energy efficiency and sustainable mobility. Additionally, we also promote excursions and visits to nearby energy facilities, allowing participants to see firsthand how energy is produced and managed. And we also organize info days dedicated to specific technologies, offering deeper insights into innovations that can contribute to sustainability. Over the course of 2 full years, across our 5 demonstration sites, we have carried out 115 activities, engaging and educating more than 4,800 citizens. The feedback has been overwhelming, positive, with participants expressing a strong desire for these activities to continue even if Aurora ends, especially the workshops, okay, which are highly valued for the ability to integrate both technology and climate awareness, appealing to a wide range of skill sets. Currently, we are working on a guidebook to facilitate the replication of all our initiatives, our citizens' labs. However, we recognize that each community will need to design tailored activities that resonate with the interests and needs of its members, okay? The guide will also include practical tips and key lessons learned from our experience. Of course, we are here to support the replication of these citizen laboratories. If you want to set a laboratory, but not only within other universities, but also in schools or rural areas or wherever you want to replicate these actions, okay? And even we are thinking, if people want, we are considering organizing an in situ person training session to equip future trainers with the necessary skills to implement these initiatives successfully. And that's all from the citizens' laboratories. Okay, and well, let me also introduce Martin. Martin Brokerhart is the person that is well is the leader of the Kimple Green Consultants, and also is the leader of the exploitation, dissemination, and communication, and is the person that is trying to join the efforts that are being doing from many different organizations, from United Nations, from the European Commission and their different bodies, also the local actions. We are trying, with the help of Martin and his long expertise in this field, and with his long network of people try to make things everyone pushing in the same directions instead of everyone trying to do his or her best alone. Okay, so please, Martin, your turn.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna. If we could have the next slide, Joanna. Okay, so I'm heading up the work package 5, which is about communications, both centrally and through the local pilots. And we have a team of people who work within INSICO, who've been supporting this process centrally. And then each of the pilot areas has their own devolved local communication effort that's moving forward. So it's the team around me that's been putting together the website, the flyers, the newsletters, supporting slide packs, press releases, and all the material that you need for successful communication programs. And the materials that we have here are available on the website, and they're available to ambassadors if you want copies of them or want to use them. So next slide, please. So some of the highlights for me, one of the biggest highlights is actually developing this AURORA Ambassador Network and the launch of that network and today's welcome meeting. So we've coordinated that through Work Package 5. We've also developed the AURORA Exploitation Plan, which is how do we take all the learnings that have come from the program and spread that beyond the 5 pilot areas, initially looking to exploit the opportunities across Europe and then more widely across the global citizen science community. We've also taken responsibility for developing the AURORA data management plan, because every citizen science project will generate large quantities of data that will become available for use by other researchers. And the veracity of that data is really important to users such as the European community, city authorities, and the UN. Some of the highlights that have come out of the communications plans that have been delivered has been the successful launch of the Aarhus Energy Community and Crowdfunding Plan done at local level, the growth of the forest energy community and its partnership with Big Solar Cooperative, which continues to expand, the work we've done with the EU Week of Regions and Cities, which enables us to reach out to all the major cities across Europe through that particular summit that's held once a year. And beyond that, we've reached out to the Global Regions and Cities Summit, which we met for the first time at UNEA 6. And UNEA stands for the United Nations Environment Assembly, which meets every 2 years and is the most important decision-making body on the planet around environmental decisions taken by environment ministers from all the respective member states. And then the last area has been the growth in our relationship with what's known as the EU Climate Pact, where we literally attended their annual event in March 2025, literally last week, where we presented the whole concept of citizen science taking a major part and playing a major role in the delivery of the climate change targets, the climate mitigation targets for reducing carbon emissions. So these are some of the highlights. Next slide, Joanne. But the question behind all of this is are these communication plans effective? Are we reaching our audiences? And I think at the local level, we are delivering successful energy communities. It's probably easier in the university setting where you've got a target audience that's more under your control than it is in the municipalities where you have to bring people in from their busy daily lives to get them involved in the energy communities. But we are translating into action on the ground. We are changing local attitudes to the energy transition. And we're starting to generate huge numbers of stories that we share with you through the AURORA newsletter on the successes that have been taking place. And I'm still encouraged by the reaction you get from people when they realize that by getting involved in these local energy communities, you can actually deliver energy for a lower price than you buy from the grid. You can actually generate investment returns for those who put their own money into the community energy schemes that are higher than the returns you would get from a bank. And there is still funding left over to invest in the next scheme. So when that dawning realize hits people, just funding that currently goes to the fossil fuel industry can be converted back into your local community. There is real enthusiasm to pick up the ideas from Aurora and replicate them across the community. And we see that in real time taking place in the Forest of Dean, but also in Spain through a related project called Jalon that Anna's involved in, that's picked up some of the learnings from Aurora and taken it out into similar rural communities in Spain. From the centre, we also put out now 4 quarterly newsletters, and we'll carry on doing that till the end of the project. We put promotion materials available for the Ambassador Programme and for the Aurora app. And we've also been working on EU recognition for projects and our success stories, communication events for Aurora in Brussels, to which the policymakers are now attending, and providing links to the citizen science community across the world about what we're doing. And there are 7 regional citizen science associations now that see the work that we're doing, including the European Citizen Science Association, the Global Citizen Science Global Partnership, but also links out to Asia, Africa, South and Central America, and Australia and the USA. And they're all learning from what we're doing and seeing what the opportunities are to pick up and replicate the programs. And then lastly, we're providing links to the UN and other global organizations to share what we're doing with them as well. And we took a major role last year in UNEA 6 in Nairobi in Kenya, where we shared a lot of the outputs from the project with other NGO groups, with the UN Science Policy Business Forum. And as a consequence, we have a dialogue now going on with the UNEP senior officers, and in particular the chief scientist at UNEP, about the potential for citizen science and climate change mitigation programs to actually help change behaviors and deliver large quantities of data on what's actually happening with carbon emissions from ordinary citizens. And nobody else is doing that. Nearly all the other apps that you see that are trying to track personal behavior are estimates what that personal behavior delivers, not real data. And what we're delivering through the Aurora app is hard, accurate data on what individuals are actually doing and how their behavior is changing as a result of using the Aurora app. Just as an aside, at last week's EU Climate Pact annual meeting, I challenged the audience how many people, and these are experts, remember, experts in climate change, were tracking their own personal carbon emissions. Only 20% were. And the next question was, and how close are you to delivering your own personal carbon emission reductions in line with the Paris Commission? Less than 5%. So, that tells you the journey that we're on. It's a real challenge if the experts aren't doing it to get the ordinary citizen to do it. So that's why this has been quite a hard journey that we've been on. Next slide, Joanna. However, there is lots of energy and enthusiasm around what we're trying to do in the local communication campaigns. And this slide just tries to give you a flavor of that, from the Spanish pilot, the Danish pilot, the UK pilot, and so on. And I went on a student exchange recently at the University of Ljubljana, where students from Denmark, Portugal, and Spain came to Slovenia to share their experiences of what they'd had through the Aurora project. And the energy levels from the students was, you could taste it in the air. They really want to engage and learn from what's going on and apply the lessons in their own lives. Next slide, please. Dissemination plans. Aurora is increasingly gaining recognition at regional and national events across the EU. And I would concentrate on that last line, the EU Climate Pact and the EU Educate for Climate groups, where the Aurora program is now making real waves of energy across those organizations as people reach out to us to try to understand what we're doing and how we might replicate it. And I'll come back to that because I think our community here, the Aurora Ambassadors, has a natural affiliation with those 2 operating organizations at EU level. Next slide, please. Okay, the Aurora Ambassador Program, you are actually core to where we want to try and take some of our thinking now as we go towards the end of the program, which officially ends in November of this year, but we hope is the springboard for something bigger and builds on what we've done in the Aurora program. And what we're looking to try to build is some consistency of approach in how we use citizen science to address climate change mitigation. Because we know from the Stockholm Environment Institute research, there are only 9 citizen science projects running at the moment trying to tackle citizen science and climate change mitigation. So there's a real opportunity to get 3 or 4 standard methods, techniques, tools, and guidance packages to engage the global and European citizen science community to pick up and run with the idea that citizens can make a difference in climate change mitigation. And we're well on the way now, as Anna said, to the 150 ambassadors that we were originally targeting from 15 EU countries. And the Work Package 5 has developed all the support materials to help that process go forward. And we are bringing in some very high profile ambassadors to support what we're doing, including the former chief scientist at UNEP, the former director of the European Environment Agency, just to name one of our high profile members in the ambassador program. And there are other ambassadors who, for one reason or another, cannot publicly declare, who are working behind the scenes with us to have major influence on the way EU activities are organized to deliver the Green Deal and the way member states represent themselves at the UNEA process, the United Nations Environment Assembly process, where member states are critical to the decisions that are taken. So not everybody declares, but there are some really high profile names behind the scenes now trying to help us. Next slide, please. I also wanted to touch on data. It can sometimes seem quite a boring issue, but if you're involved in a citizen science project, it's absolutely crucial that the data you provide is credible. And so we spent quite a lot of time with our data experts putting together a data management plan and making sure that it's following what's known as the UNESCO Open Science Principles, which is that we share our data in a very open way that is coming from the citizens who participate, whilst protecting the anonymity of the participants who provide that data to us. And that data can be downloaded and it can be used by other researchers. And we're building up quite a unique data set on real behavior from citizens who provide the data through the Aurora Tracker app. And therefore, the more people you can encourage as ambassadors to have a go at using the Aurora Tracker app, the better the data becomes. And you will have seen from the data package that you've seen earlier that many of the data providers are what I would call the early movers in the climate change debate. That is why they're showing good performance in reducing their climate change carbon emissions. What we need to bring on board are more people who are further back in the journey, and you can help us in that process. So next slide, please. One of the ways that we make sure that our data is resilient is that we have a review process for the citizen data that we receive to make sure that the accuracy and the reliability.
I'm super tired today.
Oh, sorry, we've got somebody breaking in. My apologies. To make sure that the data itself is actually accurate and reliable across all the demonstration sites. And if we're going to use this data with member states, with governments, the EU and the UN, we have to be able to demonstrate that our data is accurate and reliable. We know that it's always under the spotlight when it's produced, so this is absolutely critical. Next slide, please. That takes us on to the exploitation plans, about putting our strategy into effect. And I wanted to just give you an example of how what we're doing is growing as we speak. So the Aurora Energy Community Business Models that you've been sharing with you today, and the Aurora app and the Aurora labeling scheme, are being picked up and used by others. 3 Spanish examples, mainly coming from the Jalón project, where rural villages, private schools are starting to pick up and use the business model that you've seen outlined and how you can engage the citizen in the energy transition. And that's a direct link across from work that was done in the Forest of Dean, taken across into Spain. In the city of Madrid, the example you heard about on a school, a public school, privately owned, is the way we've broken in to working on community energy schemes in the school environment in Spain. But that still leaves 249 public schools in Madrid, publicly owned and publicly run, where we need to break in and use the example from the privately owned public school to show public schools what can be done. And the same is true in any of the participant countries in which we're working. The big solar cooperative in the UK, in the Forest of Dean, it opened the eyes of local people across an additional 40 potential sites for community energy schemes, 8 of which are firming up as we speak. So although the project isn't going to deliver those, it's opened the opportunity from the energy community to pioneer that in one district council, one municipality. So take those examples from Spain, take those examples from the Forest of Dean, and apply that more widely in Europe, and you get some idea of how big this could potentially go. And then we also been working with the Red Cross to test ideas in Portugal and Spain to try and expand what became known as the AURORA University approach, which is designed to leave no one behind. This is to make sure that you can find ways to bring into the energy transition those who can least afford to pay for the change. We aren't quite there yet in terms of what we're trying to do with the Red Cross, but the work is ongoing, and we expect to test a whole series of ideas with them over the next 6 months. Then we've also reached out beyond the pilot areas of pilot 5 countries. We've reached out to Ireland through the University College of Dublin to see how we might exploit the AURORA approach across higher educational establishments right across Ireland. And we've already had one of our first meetings where we brought all the representatives from higher education in Ireland to talk about the AURORA approach and how they might learn from what we're doing. And of course, what we're trying to do here is to open up this whole area of schools and universities to use the AURORA approach, develop community energy programs within their own organizations, and literally open up universities and schools as leaders in their communities on community energy programs. Lastly, we've been reaching out to wider organizations like the European Universities Association, not the easiest of organizations to work with in Europe, but we've also got a number of other university associations where we're sharing our approaches with them to help expand this concept of getting higher education as drivers of this whole process. We've done the same with municipalities through the Council of European Municipalities and Regions, CEMR, who've opened the door to us to share our knowledge and ideas through their newsletter process, their newsletters that they put out on a regular basis. And ambassadors can help us here in actually writing material to go into their newsletters if they can see opportunities where we can expand the influence of Project AURORA. We've then gone on to Net Zero Cities, Global Covenant of Mayors, C40 cities, who will champion the AURORA approach at the global level across cities across the world. And then lastly, I've mentioned before the citizen science community across the world who are learning from what we're doing, are looking for opportunities now to replicate the AURORA Energy Tracker app in places like India and Kenya by modifying the algorithms that were developed by the Aarhus University that underpins the labeling scheme. So others are looking now, can I take the AURORA app? Can I apply that in Hyderabad? Can I apply that in Nairobi? And how can I do that? And we are going to produce a guidebook that will help people to be able to understand what is needed to change the AURORA app so that it can go from being just European to becoming global. And then lastly, as explained, we're working with UNEP, the United Nations Environment Programme and the UN Science Policy Business Forum, who are encouraging us to develop common citizen science programs tackling climate change mitigation, in part based on the AURORA app. So next slide, please. Over the next 12 months, little less than 12 months now, we've got some core deliverables to produce from this package of work, including integrating the results of Project Aurora into university degrees. How do you do that? What's the learning that's come out from the program? How do we take the energy infrastructure hands-on teaching that Anna outlined and share that with other institutions who can copy what we're doing? How can we feed that into some of the European programs that are starting to run now, which I'll outline in a minute or two? And then the climate impact of energy infrastructures to define the overall benefits of the scheme that we've done. As I said to one or two people at the start, if we look at the overall project that Aurora has delivered in terms of energy communities that we're establishing, and then you look at how that's been rolled out into the Geelong project in Spain, we're now approaching something like €1 million of investment that we're attracting towards energy communities on public buildings, schools, universities, leisure centres, and so forth. And that's just the beginning of what can be done. And the nice thing about Aurora is it links it back to your personal carbon emissions so that you start to own the benefits of what's coming through the programme. And then the modelling of transition paths to decarbonise the European energy system. I think I'm right in saying there are only 2 national contribution plans under the climate change COP that mention citizen science. And one of those is Costa Rica. None of them in Europe, as far as I'm aware, have built citizen science into the way that they deliver the carbon emission reductions that are required by the COP process. And if you think that 30% of all emissions come from citizens' decisions, you cannot deliver the carbon emission reductions for COP unless you engage citizens. So there's a real opportunity for ambassadors to start talking to their national contributors about what might be done in this area. Let me move on to my last slide, Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah. Some of the challenges going ahead are to grow our online community, to develop the social media channels and the pilot websites, to develop our interactive LinkedIn group, and to grow the Aurora app use and capture and disseminate our data sets. And you can look at the detail of this on the slides that we'll make available after the meeting. And I think my last slide, yeah, that's into the next session, Anna. So that's what Work Package 5 has been all about. I wanted to move on, if I can, Anna, at this point, to then take you into the next session, which is how can our ambassadors support the Aurora exploitation plan? And this leads in, if you like, to the breakout sessions that we want to organize with you. So again, Joanna, if I can move on. Okay, making an impact at EU level. The way we've tried to do that so far is to join the EU Climate Pact and the Educate for Climate group. That opens up an opportunity for ambassadors to the Aurora project to link up with nearly 1,200 EU climate change ambassadors who are change makers right across the EU community, and 70 now climate pact partners across Europe. And Aurora is making real waves in these 2 groups. Originally selected out of 400 applicants, we were one of the 31 successful ones. At the EU Climate Pact annual meeting last week, DG Klima, who set the policy for the EU on climate change, actually came to me to say that we are making our voices heard loud and clear to the policymakers on the potential for citizen science helping with climate change mitigation. In addition, there are 7,000 members of the EU group Educate for Climate that links you to schools and universities across the whole of the EU, where we can actually, if like, encourage the uptake of the approaches that we've adopted in these educational institutions. We can therefore promote Aurora now to these 2 groups, and they both have ambassador LinkedIn groups that we have access to, that are private groups, the way we can share our information on Project Aurora. You as ambassadors can also link up through developing joint opportunities with what are known as the national contact points for the EU Climate Pact. And they have The contact points in Spain and Portugal we're already doing joint events with, and there are opportunities still in Denmark, Slovenia and Ireland. And in the UK, whilst not a member of these EU groups for obvious reasons, we have linked up now with what's known as Innovate UK, which gives us the same opportunities. Already, we have been accepted and presented on a very limited number of organisations at the EU Climate Pact annual flagship events in 2024 and 2025, at the European Climate Academy in 2025, and at the Educate for Europe annual presentation in 2024. And the next big event, as Anna has already told you about, is the European webinar on higher education and energy communities on the 30th of April. And there will be support at that from DG Energy. They are talking about learning from Aurora and changing the guidance that exists around EU legislation to encourage academic institutions to get involved in the energy transition. Support already from DG Education and last week from DG Klima. So all the policy groups who in the Commission are looking to work with us on learning from what comes out from Project Aurora. And then we also have access to what's known as the EU Climate Pact subgroup with partners from citizen science, youth and sport. And we can get you involved in some of those areas of activity. Next slide, please. We've also worked with something called the EU Green Deal Support Office that has brought together all the research projects funded by Horizon 2020 on citizen science. And as a result of that, we've been able to run events that have attracted keynote speakers from UNEP, including Alexander Caldas, who is the director of the climate change, who is the director of UNEP on the early warning program that they're putting in place to deal with some of the consequences of climate change. We also managed to link up with Thomas Dober, who is the director of Net Zero Cities, and ran a major event at the European Week of Regions and Cities as a direct consequence of working with the Green Deal Support Office. Next slide, please. Some of these events have gone global, and this is just one example from EU Green Week, showing you that we had 122 registrations, 71 attendees covering 22 countries, starting to show you the appetite at international level for citizen science and climate change mitigation. Next slide, please. We also took part in the very first African Citizen Science Conference in 2024. And as a direct consequence of that, we are now getting inquiries about how we could use the Aurora Energy Tracker app in the city of Nairobi and through the Citizen Science Africa Association, and how you would need to change the app to make it available and useful across the African continent. Next slide, please. I think very excitingly as well, we also got together with the other funded citizen science projects from Horizon 2020, and we've produced this policy paper, which if you've not seen it, I would recommend you look at and read. It's a policy paper on citizen science and EU regulations and new approach. Can you help us promote it? It would be my request, because what we're looking to do here is to convince the European Parliament, policymakers at the EU level, and national governments that are part of the European Union that citizen science should be fully integrated into the delivery of EU law, and that includes the Green Deal. So that's a major step forward if we can get this concept accepted by the EU, because at the moment, citizen science is a research tool and doesn't really translate across into EU law, but it should. And we have had some support from EU policymakers for this approach, which resulted, if you're aware of it, the EU Single-Use Plastics Directive, where citizen science was actually used to justify the plastics that were banned in that directive. So this is moving citizen science from just research and research outputs across into the way you deliver environmental law. And that's a big push for the year ahead. Next slide, please. And then lastly, I want to move right up to the international level. Last year at UNEA 6, we brought Aurora to the attention of the Citizen Regions Summit. We highlighted it in the UN Science Policy Business Forum, And the UN Science Policy Business Forum has the biggest global organizations in the world as its members. This is both in the public sector and in the private sector. It has all the national space agencies as its members and some of the biggest philanthropic organizations in the world. We presented Aurora at the end of their events in 2024, and in 2025 we have the opportunity to do a joint event with them on the outputs that come from Project Aurora and its potential for developing a citizen science global program on climate change mitigation. We also worked at the European Citizen Science Association conference in April 2024, when the Stockholm Environment Institute highlighted Aurora as one of the only 9 citizen science projects on climate change mitigation and the most comprehensive. And if you look on the left of that slide, the lower picture there shows you a presentation that was done to the UN major groups. This is all the NGO groups who go to UNEA. And on the right of myself in the center is the former chief scientist of the UN. Behind me is the leader of the UN major groups Science and Technology Division. In front of him is now a lady who was at the EU, but now heads up the biodiversity framework initiative that was agreed at Montreal a year or so ago. And then to the left of her is the chair of the Citizen Science Africa. So these are important people who are taking note of what we're doing. Next slide, please. We're also trying to draw together the global social media community, the citizen science community on climate change. And we've opened up a LinkedIn group, and I'd encourage ambassadors to look at this LinkedIn group and participate on it. It's where we're trying to share our understanding and experience of how you use climate change to mitigate and reduce carbon emissions. And so it's currently quite small with 214 members, but still growing, and typically 400 impressions for every major event we put onto the group, but it is genuinely global. Next one, please. We've also made impact on what's known as the high-level expert group, the big data revolution. So this is where the data work that we've been doing is so important, where we're feeding in our ideas on how you can develop data from citizens on their overall activities on climate change mitigation, and how that can be fed in to UN platforms to help in decision-making processes at global level. I mean, these are really important people that are getting involved in the debate about big data and the future of citizen science data as part of that package. It also includes remote sensing data, as well as the usual member state supported data sets from the national statistical offices. Next, please. So the citizen science can address the challenges of our time, exploiting the Aurora project legacy. This, I think, is where the ambassadors can be of great assistance to us, because we're looking to secure the support of the UN Science Policy Business Forum to launch a global citizen science program on climate change mitigation in December 2025. And you can take part in that. We're looking to secure the support of the UNEP early warning program to include our data sets on UN platforms. And there is a working group running now that is helping to develop that whole approach. You can take part in that. We need to build and grow support from the global citizen science community. And we will be taking a major delegation coordinated by the Citizen Science Global Partnership to UNEA 7. And if there are ambassadors out there who can self-fund to go to that event, we can facilitate your attendance at what is a life-changing meeting. It really is. To be able to go to that sort of event where all the environment ministers from around the world are gathering to lay out the new what are called multilateral environmental agreements, of which climate change is one, then you can have an influence on that. But to get there, we have to develop the common methodologies, tools, and database systems suitable for a global use of experience of Project Aurora and similar projects in the next 6 months. And we also need support from ambassadors to help with EU member states to launch a formal side event at UNEA 7. And if you want to see what can be achieved by going to that level, have a look at the Global Mosquito Alert Dashboard, which is just an example of what can be done at global level. Thank you. I think we probably need to try and wrap up with a last few comments and feedback from the breakout groups. Would that be the best way to do this now?
Well, maybe Say or Mathieu, can you sum up what you have been talking about in your room?
Yeah, actually, in our breakout room, we were about, I think, 8 people. Myself, Matej from the AURORA project, and then I think there were also 5 people from the Forest of Dean who are really enthusiastic about the AURORA project and energy communities. We have not discussed actually not that much about energy communities, but mostly about the thermography use with children, and in that being a way to actually invite people to join AURORA or do something in the direction of, let's say, lowering the consumption of and energy consumption.
Okay, nice. So I think that you are interested in somehow the citizen labs and how to integrate this kind of education with kids and young people. So it's nice, and well, this is the idea of our guide, just to provide you with a comprehensive view on what have we done, and just to have the first step just to replicate with other public. Martin, can you sum up the conversation in the other room?
Yeah, I think we were a small group of about 4 or 5, and the discussion was really around how we can be influential both within and outside the EU in terms of influencing decision making at international level. And there was a generic understanding that this means engaging with member states, both within the EU and in the UK, to try to influence the representatives that go along to UNEA and agree the final multilateral environmental agreements. There was also quite a lot of debate around how we get the motivators going for citizens to get engaged in citizen science programs, and how we open up what we called energy local, where you are allowed to produce your own energy and sell it to your neighbors. So at the moment, most places in Europe, that's not possible. You can only sell it back to the grid. But to try to start to push the boundaries about how you can use energy communities to create value that would encourage you to take part in things like the AURORA Energy Tracker app, to reduce your own personal carbon emissions. So what we were talking about was what are the drivers that bring ordinary citizens to get engaged in this process. And I think that's probably as far as we took it. There was also this whole issue of the distribution systems was also under discussion, but it's a bit of a complicated process. But it's about how you balance locally produced energy with centrally produced energy and bring on board the distribution organizations to allow you to do this type of local energy provision, and how you get these cost drivers in place. Would that be fair, Dean? Have I covered the main ones? Yep. Okay,
thank you very much. So I think we can end. There is 2 minutes to 6. So thank you very much, everyone, for being here until the end. From now on, our idea is to have another working meeting by the beginning of May or middle of May, more or less, with ambassadors. But we will inform you on every single action that we are going to make around our exploitation plan, all the events at international or European level that we are going to participate. Just if you want to provide some input, and also please, if you identify any action in which AURORA can also take part, because is an event, is a meeting, is an opportunity that you identify because of your own work, or because of your own network, please contact us. Okay, these are synergies, and I think that everybody wants to go in the same direction. Okay, or just let us know what are your own interests. And if we identify another opportunities, we also can contact you and well, support each other. So thank you very much.
Could I just say before everybody goes, Anna, we've also opened up an email address that ambassadors can use, and we'll put it in a note of the meeting. I think it's ambassadors at Aurora H2020. That's a way for you to write to any of to the Aurora management team, and then we will answer any questions that come through that particular route. And if I can find it, I'll put it in the chat for you, so that you can use that. And what we will do is we will answer those questions as soon as we can, or give you another contact that you can go to get the answers to the questions that you raise. So just bear with me, and I'll put it in the chat before everybody goes.
No, it's now.
Oh, you've done it. Okay.
No, Joanna, it's for me, only for me, the message to everyone.
Yeah, probably.
Sorry.
Can you put it in the chat then, Joanna? Thank you.
No, it's correct.
Yep, there it is. Ambassadors at aurora-h2020.eu. And that's available just for the ambassadors.